If you've been following Ben Shephard lately, whether on This Morning or through his wonderfully candid Instagram posts, you'll know that behind that trademark cheeky grin, there's been a whirlwind of change. We're talking the kind of like shifts that leave you needing a stiff drink on the sofa at the end of the day. For years, Ben and his wife Annie have been the picture of domestic stability. They've been happily ensconced in their stunning Richmond home, raising their two boys, Sam and Jack, and creating a garden that frankly made the rest of us look at our window boxes with shame. But recently, the couple pulled the trigger on a massive £3.5 million upheaval that has fans and friends buzzing. It's not just a house move, it's a total life pivot. And if you've ever stared at a room full of packing boxes and wondered, what on earth are we doing? You're going to relate to this more than you think. The empty nest catalyst. Let's be real. Change is scary, but for Ben and Annie, this move wasn't just about fancy postcode hopping. It was driven by that silent, heart-tugging reality every parent dreads and anticipates in equal measure, the empty nest. With their eldest son Sam off to university and traveling, and their youngest, Jack, now 18 and gaining his own independence, the dynamic in the Shephard household has shifted dramatically. Ben has been heartbreakingly open about this transition. He recently admitted on air that he and Annie were struggling with the quiet. It's the quiet that makes you feel melancholic, he confessed. For years, their Richmond home was a hub of chaos in the best way possible. It was filled with muddy football boots, the noise of teenage boys bundling on the sofa, and the constant hum of family life. Suddenly, the silence became deafening. So what do you do when the chapter on raising kids starts to close? If you're Ben and Annie, you don't just sit around in the quiet. You shake things up. You bite a project, a massive project. The £3.5 million fixer-upper, sort of. Here is where the story gets juicy, and where Annie, frankly, becomes the hero of the hour. The couple has reportedly traded their polished, picture-perfect Richmond sanctuary, which they sold for a cool £5.3 million, nicely done guys, for a £3.5 million property in West London that sounds equal parts dream home and logistical nightmare. We're talking about a riverside mansion with incredible bones. It boasts 10 bedrooms, yes 10, and is steeped in history. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The property is said to have virtually no driveway and very limited access. Imagine trying to renovate a massive Grade II listed property where you can barely fit a wheelbarrow through the front gate. It's the kind of project that would make most of us run for the hills. But this is where Annie Shephard shines. While Ben is the face we see on TV, Annie is the creative powerhouse behind the scenes. As a professional interiors and garden designer, the house editor, she isn't just moving house, she's taking on a canvas. But still, the upheaval is real. Moving from a house that is done to a house that needs doing is a stress test for any marriage. Yet, seeing how these two have navigated 20 years of marriage, you get the feeling they're tackling this exactly how they tackle everything else. Together, probably with a bit of banter and a lot of patience on Annie's part. Saying goodbye to the gin bench, we have to take a moment to mourn the old house. For Ben's 500+ Instagram followers, that Richmond garden was practically a character in its own right. It was a labor of love that Annie built from a mud pit into a layered, English country oasis. We all watched as Ben proudly, and sometimes clumsily, showed off the vegetable patches, the fire pit where the family roasted marshmallows, and of course, the legendary gin bench. That bench wasn't just a piece of wood, it was a symbol. It was where Ben and Annie sat for their sundowners, catching a breath away from the madness of his filming schedule and her design projects. It was where they hosted friends, laughed, and probably debated whose turn it was to walk the dog. Leaving a home like that is emotional. It's not just bricks and mortar. It's the backdrop to your children's childhoods. It's the height charts on the wall, the memories of birthday parties, and the ghost of noise in the hallways. Ben posted a bittersweet video recently from a corner of the new place, a rare glimpse inside, looking reflective. You could almost feel the weight of the change. He spoke about how fast the summer had gone, a sentiment that seemed to double as a metaphor for the last 18 years of parenting. Why this resonates with us? Why do we care so much about a TV presenter moving house? I think it's because Ben Shephard has managed to stay remarkably human in an industry that often feels fake. When he talks about missing his sons, he doesn't sound like a celebrity giving a soundbite. He sounds like a dad who misses his boys. When we hear about them downsizing their daily chaos, but upsizing their challenge with this new house, it reflects our own desires to reinvent ourselves. We all have those moments where we think, is this it? Or is there one more big adventure left in us? For Ben and Annie, this £3.5 million gamble is that adventure. It's a declaration that just because the kids are leaving, life isn't slowing down. In fact, it's ramping up. The Annie effect. We also have to give a massive shout out to Annie. Ben often jokes that he's just the one who lives there, while Annie is the one who makes it a home. With this new property, the stakes are higher. The reports of no rear access and privacy issues with public footpaths nearby sound like a headache waiting to happen. But anyone who has seen Annie's portfolio knows she's going to turn this awkward, historic building into something breathtaking. There is something incredibly romantic about that. After 2 decades of marriage, they are building something new from the ground up again. They aren't settling into a quiet retirement, they are rolling up their sleeves. What's next? So, as Ben settles into his new role on This Morning, taking over the reins and becoming a permanent fixture in our mid-mornings, his home life is mirroring that fresh start. We can expect, and hope for, plenty of updates. We want to see the renovation disasters. We want to see the new garden taking shape. We want to see where the new gin bench goes. This upheaval is a reminder to all of us that change doesn't have to mean loss. Yes, the empty nest is painful. Yes, moving house is one of the most stressful things you can do, right up there with divorce and bankruptcy, they say. But it's also vibrant and alive. Ben and Annie are showing us that the second act of family life, the part after the school runs and the chaotic breakfasts, can be just as exciting as the first. Here's to the Shephard'S. May their renovation be swift, their new neighbors be friendly, and may their glasses always be full on the new patio. We'll be watching and cheering from the sidelines.